My next guest, the last time he was on this show, he was running for Congress against then Representative and Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. And if you ask me, he scared Paul Ryan out of Congress. Randy Bryce, you know him. You probably, if you're listening to the show, good chance you contributed to his campaign. Well, Randy is now, unfortunately, he didn't win that race, but he is the head of a new venture that I think a lot of called Iron PAC. He's going to tell us about it. He's a U.S. Army vet. He's a cancer survivor. He's an iron worker. He's the founder of Iron PAC, former congressional candidate, triple threat, and he's back on the program. So Randy, Bryce, thanks for coming back on the show.
It's a pleasure to talk with you again, Richard.
Yeah, same here. And first of all, before we get into Iron PAC, I do think you kind of scared Ryan out of Congress, but what do you think?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. He even said he did a poll a couple weeks before he made his decision, and we know what we ended up doing. He definitely saw that there was a threat, so he felt that his polling was just absolutely tanking. And so there's no doubt that we had something to do with him deciding to look for a new line of work.
And, you know, work is something that these Republicans really don't like to do. So it was going to be a heavy lift for him to get reelected. He thought it's not worth the trouble. So now tell us about your PAC, Iron PAC.
Well, after the election, I took some time off to, spend with my son and reconnect with him and just try to settle through like the glass of muddy water, let it become clear again, and decide what I wanted to do. I was invited to the Sanders Institute, their inaugural event in Burlington, Vermont, and 250 people from around the country were invited there, and it was fantastic. There were a lot of panels, all dealing with very progressive issues, and ran into a few people that I had made contact with throughout the campaign who were extremely helpful. And they were like, Randy, what are you doing next? You can't give up. We need your voice. We need you to keep fighting, keep swinging hard. And we came up with an idea. We sat down, had some meetings, have had several conversations since then. And what we came up with was called Iron PAC. And it's developed to help encourage, recruit working people to actually run for Congress. As everybody's aware, over half of the members of Congress right now are millionaires, and many are lawyers. They don't represent working class people. And I feel that we need more people like us who have had to struggle and understand what it's like to work paycheck to paycheck, be concerned about everyday issues, just having a roof over your head, access to health care, things that we need to be successful in our communities. And it seems like, the billionaires are getting more and more and working people are having less and less. And this inequality is just unacceptable. And we need to make a change. And that's only going to happen by demanding that people are accountable to working people. And that's why we need working people making those decisions on our behalf.
I've actually thought about this a lot, Randy. I've thought about, we do need more working people at all levels of office, but particularly when you start getting to House of Representatives like you ran, or Senate, and even, state Senate or whatever. One, it's a huge commitment of time, and most of us have to work, very few of us, except the people who are in Congress now, but among the general population, very few of us have the luxury of saying, well, I'm going to take 6 months off of work because I want to run for office, right? So and then you get into, and I know you've talked about this yourself, then you got to raise money for a campaign. And if you're a working person, you don't know the kind of deep pockets people, you don't have country club pals who can give you, a $1,000 check or whatever at the drop of a hat. So, I guess there are two sides. I really love what you're doing, but there are two sides of it, right? The one is finding the people who can and want to do it. And the other is, how does a working person actually do this in this day and age? So I guess I'll start with the second one. What are your thoughts on that? How does a working person say, I got to keep my job. I got to, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, but I really want to get involved. How do you make that step?
Well, that was the biggest thing for me. It was like how, being a single dad, raising a son, and trying to make sure that his needs are kept up with as well. And it's at the beginning, it's on the verge of overwhelming, where you're dedicating your life to doing something, so it feels like, unnatural. But the thing is like talking to people, and my inner thinking when people were asking me to run was like, if not me, who else? And we need to convince, there's plenty of fed up people across this country. I interact with them on social media all the time. And the only way that anything's going to change is if we are the ones making the decisions. People are like, well, what can we do? I feel so powerless. My member of Congress isn't paying any attention to me. I'll call, but they still vote the other way. When I look at our campaign, we had Congressman Mark Pocan was definitely an MVP. And he comes from a working class background. He was a state rep, a member of the Painters Union, and luckily his district borders mine. And he was just an incredible amount of inspiration. He was a fantastic mentor. And he's also, he wants to get more people like him. Once we get more working people in, members of the Progressive Caucus, we're going to see better decisions. And I mean, just look at this last election. We got in early, too, because we knew it was going to be a big fight against the third most powerful Republican in the country. And people looked at me like I was crazy at first. But I had had enough. I mean, growing up in Wisconsin, once Scott Walker and these banana Republicans got elected, what we had to fight with, how they carved up our state into horribly gerrymandered districts. And I just had enough. I was like, things aren't going to get better unless I do something. And then I saw that by me taking a step forward, there were so many other people right next to me. I wasn't doing it alone, but it just takes somebody to make that initial step. And people are like, what can we do? And now it's like, we need you to step up. So it's going to be helping share my experiences. It's going to be helping raise money for people, give them advice on what worked for me, what didn't. But most of all, just to be encouraging, because that meant everything to me when I had a little bit of doubt. I mean, we had a good video that we released, and it brought in a lot of money right away. So, I mean, that was kind of unexpected, but I needed that encouragement. I needed people to believe in me. But once I took that first step and I saw the community rally around me, that meant everything. And that's what I'm going to encourage in other people. If they're unsatisfied with what's going on in our government, and what sane person doesn't have an issue, they have the ability to empower themselves by rallying their community. So
we're talking with Randy Bryce, former congressional candidate, iron worker, and now organizer of the Iron PAC to get working people to run for office. So, Randy, where are you in the sort of setup process of all this? Is this up? Is this just getting started? Where in the evolution of this thing is it right now?
Well, we filed all the paperwork mid-February, and we've just been going about how to make a successful launch, who's going to be, making sure we have board membership, advisors, and people that are on board with us. So we sent out our first email on Saturday, rented the email list from our campaign committee, and we're having some good success. And I'm really excited about where we're going to go from here. Next, we're talking about, what kind of criteria are we going to take? Because obviously we're not going to be able to support 435 candidates. So it's, picking out what kind of candidates are we looking for. And so we're looking for people that understand that struggle, that have felt the pain. Because just looking at the results of this last November, I mean, we see a woman that was a former bartender, a working class person who's really making a big change in Congress. And I want to get more people to help support progressive ideas like that.
It's funny that you mentioned, former bartender, because, I think it was on Twitter or someplace on social media, I saw somebody saying, can you imagine she was a bartender a few months ago, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and now she's doing this great questioning in Congress. And I remember, because my reaction was, in my day, I've met a lot of smart bartenders, actually. The problem isn't smart working people in all professions. The problem is helping more of them. Like, that's why I support what you're doing, helping more of them make that transition, because it's this untapped source of talent, as well as this perspective that we don't see. So I guess since you can't obviously run 435 candidates and 435 House races, are you going to pick what, Republican incumbents to go after, or what's your criteria there?
No, absolutely. I mean, the goal of Iron PAC isn't to challenge Democrats that are already holding a seat. We need to change the composition, because right now Republicans are the ones they're letting Donald Trump get away with whatever he wants to do. There's nobody standing up to him. And that was one of the big hits that, we took after with Paul Ryan. He wasn't doing anything to stand up against Donald Trump. And also, one of the things about Congresswoman Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was that she said, when that was brought up about her being a bartender, after she graduated from college, she said that she thought about going to law school, but she couldn't afford it.
Right.
I mean, what does that say about our society now? Think about the potential of young women, young men that could go to medical school, that, how many shots are we missing at a cure for cancer if they could afford it? It's not about, intelligence doesn't have to do with wealth. We're seeing this college scandal now, right, where, so why can't we make college affordable? We can. We have it's an unjust society that we have right now, where the rich are taking full advantage of those who work for a living to put food on the table. They're getting richer and richer, and we're struggling more and more, and that's just not right. And the only way I see to fix it is by getting more working people elected in office.
Well, I'm all for it, and I also think it's a great way to take political power, or more political power, away from the Republicans, because, they pretend to be for the working person, but they're not really, and I think we need Democrats who clearly are speaking for working people. I think that's like, what's that, garlic or to a vampire, whatever. I think right, it will just show them for what they are. So I don't know if you have a website yet or whatever, but what can people do to get more information about what you're doing?
We do have just a startup website right now. It's ironpac.org, IRONPAC.org, where people can get on our email list. I encourage them just to keep up with what's going on and listen to what we have to say. We're also listening to what people have to say, because if they are thinking about running for office, or they know somebody that would be a fantastic candidate. I mean, just look at all these teacher strikes that are making an impact, and there's leadership right there. There are people leading those strikes. That's the kind of people that, the ones leading these strikes, and those are the people that we need in Congress that understand what it's like to be able to get people to make their voices heard. That's an impact, and that's what we need more of.
All right, buddy. Well, it's a great project. I'm all for it, and I'm glad you're doing it. Randy Bryce, former candidate of Congress, now organizing Iron PAC to get working people into Congress. Thanks for that great work, and thanks for coming on the program to talk about it.
Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Same here.